Here they are. There's 3 of them. So we'll have to see how that does. That's a really, really interesting card when you have, say, an aristocrat out who can sacrifice all your creatures at will. We first saw it really get abused with Killing Wave, which is absent from this deck list, and rightfully so, but always an interesting card, and this should be about the early turns. I don't think we're going to see many Farseeks into Huntmasters in this one. It's probably going to be Cacklers and 1-drops and 2-drops as Leland mulligans down to 6 cards here.
Yeah, and depending on the plays for this guy, I'm going to be excited about watching these play out because I do know a lot more of these cards and look forward to seeing how they play them. Mulliganing down, necessarily doesn't hurt you in a situation where you have so many 1-drop characters and also having so many other choices. You play the same land, so you're not looking to fill your hand with 4 different colors of lands. He's just looking for red, so I don't think this is going to hurt him any.
All right. Not sure what the conversation is here. I'm pretty bad at... Oh, looks like we have a judge involved.
Leland is known for being, arguing and cheating on the circuit, so, anything could be coming through.
Obviously, Sean's kidding, but either way, we did catch a quick glimpse of the hand of our head judge, Blaine Campbell. He's a level 2 judge from the Buffalo area. Another personal friend of mine that likes to make the trip down to Game Core here. He's working it more often than playing in them, but nonetheless, we always appreciate him making a trip down and helping lend some level 2 credentials to the group of judges here. Andy Martin's going to go to 18 as he leads off with a Blood Crypt. Taps it for a Geralf's Messenger. Not too many better draws in his deck.
Well, that's actually not the correct year because you are way more knowledgeable. That's a Gravecrawler. He's not going to be able to block with him, and he's only going to be able to swing for 2.
What did I say?
A Messenger, if he came in off a 1-drop, that would be a killer card like that to my deck.
Yeah, Messenger would be a little nuts there. Leland with the Ash Zealot knocks Andy down to 16, and the attack of the Gravecrawler brings Leland down to 19. I'm sorry, 18.
How does she work exactly? Any spell that's cast, something to do with casting spells?
Yeah, if a spell is flashbacked, or I should say cast from the graveyard, I believe Ash Zealot does 2 damage to target player. Not sure if it hits creatures or not. Not a card I play with very much myself. And it won't matter, because it's going to eat a Searing Spear here and get off the board. Leland's back to square one. He plays his 3rd land. I see a Cackler. I do also see a Pillar of Flame there. That's the FNM foil Pillar of Flame.
Now he unleashes that Cackler, so he's not going to be able to block and do anything to that Gravecrawler, but he'll be able to swing for 2 now.
He will, and there's a second Gravecrawler from Andy. Leland opted not to use the Pillar of Flame on the Gravecrawler. He must really respect the Geralf's Messenger, and all that means to me is that he's played against it a few times, because that card's silly. Very powerful hand here from Andy Martin, though. I saw a Rakdos return, another Searing Spear, and
maybe
a Dreadbore
in there.
Yep. I don't know what the 4th card is. A Bonfire for 1 from Leland Bliss is going to clear the board of the Gravecrawlers. That's important because I don't see any more zombies in Andy's hand, so he's not going to get a whole lot of value out of him here, and Leland was really served pretty well by holding back that Pillar of Flame. Now, instead of being blown out by Andy, is going to take 1 damage there from that Bonfire.
Well, as long as they don't get lost and confused in his graveyard, he should be able to bring those back here a little bit later in the game.
See, yep, that was a promo Gravecrawler hiding. Okay. Always those foils and foreign cards hide that little bit of information from people.
Well, with the Force of Zombies coming on, I've had hands like this before, and if he's got a couple more draws, it's going to be hard for Leland to come back without another Miracle Bonfire.
Yeah, Leland had a Night of Infamy there, and if he's attacking, I'm curious why he wouldn't have played it before he attacked there. Just cost himself a point of damage as Andy took 2. Yeah, I don't know, not the most optimal play, and now really probably should have hit that Pillar of Flame earlier since it's just going to be used on the same creature again. He did take precaution to hit the foil promo rather than the regular Gravecrawlers. So
he's flooded after a ball to 6.
Yeah, that is pretty rough. John pointing out that Leland here with 5 lands is a little bit more than he hopes to operate on after his mulligan to 6. So he'll do okay if he draws runner Thundermaw Hellkite for, let's see, 3 turns is as many as he can play. So if you're going to flood, that's how you hope to do it, and we'll have to see how good the top of his deck is to Leland here.
Yeah, he also has an option. He has another bonfire we haven't seen yet, and those aristocrats, you know, coming in with 4/4 haste flyers could do some damage if he pulls one of those.
All right, well, life totals are 12-9 in favor of Leland Bliss, and that Blood Crypt in his hand is going to go away as Leland takes 8 damage on the turn, drops to 4 after 2 damage from the Rakdos return and 6 damage from the attacker swinging.
So he goes to 1, right?
Plays a Stromkirk Noble that's just not going to get there. I believe Andy might be at 3 instead of 1, but it also doesn't look like it's going to be too relevant
He's
here.
at 9, right? Took 2 off the...
Leland should be at 4.
Oh, I was backwards.
Yep.
Okay, I
And-
started taking the life off of Andy instead of Leland, that's why.
And Leland scoops him up after Andy remembers to turn all of his guys sideways. And I see 2 Annihilating Fires, 2... I'm losing it. All right, well, I definitely saw some Annihilating Fires coming in out of the sideboard. Not too sure what the other ones was. He's toying with the idea of some Mizium Mortars. Doesn't look like he's going to do it.
Do you want me to
2 Tragic Slips. Another Bonfire. All fixing to come in for Leland.
Yeah, it was just an unfortunate play there that he's just flooded with land. Most of the time, Leland really comes out and fires good and has a very mathematical deck that works out good for his land drops compared to his creature drops. So that, I think, was an unusual hand that he got stuck with to start.
Sometimes you gotta modify. I guess we're talking.
One-sided written part. Yeah.
All right, just taking a quick second to advertise a little here on the GameCore Twitter page as the players shuffle up and finish their sideboarding. Heading into Game 2, Andy Martin has a 1-0 lead on Leland Bliss. These guys are trying to fight over the spots in the top 8 to try to earn that foil Jace the Mind Sculptor. Last I checked, that was about a $350 card or so. So obviously there's a fair bit at stake for a little bit more so than your average Saturday GPT or something like that. John likes to pull out all the stops for his championship events, as he was talking about. Really pushes for the competitive crowd, and it's nice to see that from a card shop fixing to take care of their...
Yeah, that's going to make one heck of a nice Christmas present for the champion here today. And if you're listening and you live in the Erie area, another great Christmas present and idea is just come down to GameCore and grab yourself a gift card. It's good for everything here in the store, not just Magic cards and Magic packs, but you can get video games. They've got all kinds of different systems here. They'll let you try out some of the games and check stuff out before you even take it home. It's just a great staff down here at GameCore. So if you have any Christmas shopping you need to finish up here in the next week, this is definitely a place to stop by.
Even if you're just thirsty, want some Balls energy drink there, our sponsor being on the mats there, pretty predominantly displayed, but it never hurts to go ahead and shoot them a quick plug anyways. Leland probably doing a little extracurricular shuffling due to the fact that he saw 6 or 7 lands in the last game. Really probably wants that number to be at 3 or 4 until maybe turn 6 or 7 or so. But we'll have to wait and see.
It would be nice to see a more even game come out, because if both decks come out playing a little bit more fair and evenly, it's going to be exciting to watch compared to just a drawn-out match or somebody being lopsided.
Yeah, a lot of times these aggro matchups don't end up, don't wow anybody, but that doesn't mean there's not some smart plays. And, you know, when everybody's trying to win on the 4th turn, the mistakes get magnified quite a bit. And there was, I think they both played pretty tight in that first game. It just came down to Leland flooded out, and Andy had a really, really strong hand. The Rakdos return only took a Blood Crypt, but having the information that there's no more information to have is really valuable, and served him well in that game as Andy looks at a hand with Pillar of Flame, a couple lands, a Dreadbore, Searing Spear.
It looks like the bad hand from last game's making him keep a questionable one here.
Yeah, not a lot of pressure in that hand. I think I would have probably mulliganed it myself.
Well, he just
I mean-
drew as a second land, but he had a one-lander, and he kept it because he was,
Was that Leland?
yeah.
Yeah, Leland keeps a one-lander and hits the jackpot, it looks like, to be able to play that turn 2. Ash Zealot, swing for 2, life totals 20 to 18, and a Pillar of Flame takes down the Ash Zealot right away. Looks like a Stromkirk Noble was the draw, and that is a Cathedral of War on Leland's side of the board. Really an interesting card in the matchup. It can really help when the fights are coming down to 2/2s, fighting 2/2s. Being able to attack with a 3/3 or a 4/4 is quite a big deal.
Well, we see our first Blood Artist come out onto the board for being a small creature. He does definitely pack a punch when you're playing, when people start dying here.
Definitely lessens the sting of having your opponent cast a Bonfire of the Damned against you, that's for sure. One card I want to point out here in the sideboard of Leland's deck, a pretty techie card in my opinion, 2 Volcanic Strength. So Leland's going to have the ability, the Hellrider turning sideways, that means that'll be a 5 damage attack, or I'm sorry, a 6 damage attack from Leland. Takes Andy down to 12. Obviously the Blood Artist is too valuable to just block there. And Andy sits there with a hand full of removal and burn. So a Searing Spear is going to take down this Hellrider in short order. And I expect another Searing Spear to follow up, take down the Stormkirk Noble as it happens.
So we're going to be gaining and losing some lives because of that Blood Artist being out there.
Yep, assuming they remember the triggers, and I'm fine assuming that. Leland's going to take 2, Andy's going to gain 2. Andy's still with removal in hand, so what's Leland want to play here? Thundermaw, Hellkite, or let's see, he's got. Well, he'll just Miracle a Bonfire for 3. So Andy's going to take 2 total, drop to 12. Leland's going to take 1, drop down to 15. And Leland's still ahead on the board, so with a handful of, I believe, triple burn spell, it could get relevant. 1 or 2 more, obviously 1 or 2 more bonfires is going to make a big difference if Leland can do it. But assuming our life totals are correct, it stands at 15 to 12. That's got to be a custom art.
Yeah, that card that Andy just drew there. Don't know if I've seen that one before.
All right, well, here's a Falcon Wrath Aristocrat. It's really going to change the way the timing works here. It's going to have to eat an instant speed removal spell, and there's a Brimstone Volley. Obviously, you much prefer to be pointing 5 damage at your opponent with those, but Andy can't drop to 4 there. There's no way. That custom art's going to be a land. I believe it's a basic mountain. And Leland draws. It is a Stromkirk Noble. Noticeable absence from Leland's deck, I think, is... yep, there's that custom art. Is that a Legends of the Hidden Temple caricature? I don't know. What is
I
that?
think that's that guy from Mario that smashes down on your head.
Oh, yeah, the big cement block guy in Mario might be what that is. I don't know. But Leland's going to attack for 1.
See if Leland calls the judge over to see what kind of land that is there. Right now, it looks like a backwards of last game. It looks like we're getting flooded with land over on Andy's side.
Yeah. Did we get the attack for 1 in there from
You know
Leland?
what? It's actually in for 2, right? Because he's got the Exalted trigger.
Yep. So we missed an Exalted trigger, so it attack for 2, which puts Andy to 10. And I believe Leland is now... Okay, it's Andy's turn, so Leland will be attacking for 3. And the Gravecrawler's inability to block is pretty significant, but as you mentioned, Sean, 1, 2, 3, 4... that's 9 lands on Andy's side of the board, and until he starts top decking those Bonfire of the Dams, it's not going to be a winning bet for him.
Yeah, you can tell just by his gesturing there that he's kind of frustrated and needing to draw something.
There's... Yeah,
it appears to be a miracle.
You don't just hold that card back. That's... That's a big one. As I don't know if you can hear John Kapinski singing a little in the background, but it'll be a 7 damage life swing. Leland's going to drop to 8. It's going to take care of the Stromkirk Noble and leave the Dreadbore, I think most importantly, in Andy's hand as a tragic slip. Makes what I consider to be a bad trade with a Gravecrawler. Not that Leland had an alternative. It wasn't a burn spell, and I think he's just got the burn in hand to go.
He's got a Thundermaw Hellkite, and what is that? Is that another Cathedral in his hand?
It is another Cathedral.
For 7, that's game.
Well, the Cathedral comes in tapped, so he's not going to be able to get the Hellkite down. And I think his plan here is to just point an Annihilating Fire at his face.
Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah, to keep him off playing anything. Yeah, Gravecrawler's not going to be good enough. They still don't block. Leland opts not to burn. Probably the right move. He drew Bonfire of the Damned and just elected not to cast it, so that way he can go ahead and attack for 7. And I mentioned Dreadbore is an underwhelming card. It has sorcery speed, and this deck is a big part of the reason why. Leland kind of, I don't want to say stole that game, but it didn't look good for him for a while. Andy just seemed to have all the answers. Just drew 1 too many, or probably around 6 too many lands, and Leland got to 5, hit the Hellkite, attacked for exactly lethal with 7, thanks to the 2 Cathedral Wars.
It's a good plug for you guys to talk about the skills that come into mulliganing and even shuffling well.
Well, we saw with Leland in that game, which I don't really see a whole lot when I'm playing on Friday nights, is that Cathedral War. Being an Exalted, that's what was happening there. That he was adding 1 Exalted to the player that he was fighting with. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's separate triggers, 1 for each Cathedral War, so +1/+1 for each Exalted trigger meant that was a 7/7 Thundermaw Hellkite instead of a 5/5. And, he would have still had it otherwise. He would have just been able to Annihilating Fire end a turn and attack, but was able to save some resources, keep some burn in his hand as Leland looks to make sure he's not interested in doing any more sideboarding. I was curious that Leland left the Stromkirk Nobles in his deck. I really think they're prime candidates for those tragic slips, but there's something to be said for making him use those tragic slips and those burn spells early. Keeps the black-red player from being able to go aggressive.
Yeah, the Stromkirk Noble, I think he works out best in a more true vampire-style deck. That was one of the original decks that I was set up to play with. And when you have other vampires boosting him on top of him getting that counter, he does become a very strong character. But from what we saw there, it was really hard for him to gain any counters.
As they're shuffling up for Game 3, I want to take this opportunity to remind Kitten that they can come on down here and buy Terra and Diablo 3 from the Game Core store here. Probably not exactly what they wanted me to say, but, nonetheless, anybody can stop by and pick up any of their games, any of their Magic singles. I believe the Modern PTQ season is going to be kicking off, so you'll want to make sure you stop and pick up all your Modern cards now before the day of the event when we might be sold out.
We do have the first PTQ in Erie history on March 16th, and it is Modern.
And as always, remember the first PTQ for the city of Erie, Pennsylvania will be held on March 16th. That is Modern format, as I mentioned, and you guys can stop down, get some information about that tournament, and get your decks ready. I can tell you Modern is just a whole lot of fun. I don't know if you've played it at all, Sean, but just in preparing for Grand Prix Toronto, I had some of the most fun that I've had playing Magic in a real long time. The ability to use those old cards I'm nostalgic for from the first time I started playing was a very attractive idea to me. Andy's looking at a hand here. It's a little goofy on its mana. It's got the Cavern of Souls, lets him get the turn 1 dork out there, but the rest of these lands are going to come into play tapped. He's not going to be able to get the double or the second and third 1-drops on the board in the next turn. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. And it looks like a Stromkirk Noble is going to match up.
Now with that Cavern, is that colorless? Was he able to play a black creature with a colorless mana?
Well, you name a creature type with the Cavern, and whenever you tap that land for a mana, you're able to use it as a colored mana to play anything of that creature type. So now any zombie, whether it's black, red, green, white, blue, any of them, the Cavern of Souls can tap, create a colored mana, and only use that colored mana to play a creature of the chosen type. You can still use the mana, just not as a colored mana, and not doesn't keep your stuff from being countered like the Cavern of Souls does for creatures. So Leland gets in there for one with the Stromkirk Noble, dropping Andy Martin to 19, growing the Stromkirk Noble a little bit bigger. Leland's stuck on one land here, it looks like, and the Pillar of Flame is really going to do some damage to him. I needed that Stromkirk Noble to keep growing, but he's going to take another 2, drop to 16 from the Gravecrawler.
Andy really should have played that Rakdos land that comes into play tap.
Yeah, John pointing out that Andy had a Rakdos Guildgate in his hand that he didn't play there. Might have a Searing Spear he's trying to leave open, but Leland hits his second land, is able to drop Cackler and another Stromkirk Noble. So Leland's still in an okay spot. Just as long as the Hellrider is going to be a big play here. That's going to be an attack for 7 at Leland, who just looks to be taking it and dropping to 9. That could just be for the triggers, so we'll have to wait and see. But I know the Rakdos Cackler won't be blocking. Yep, Leland takes it, drops to 9. Draws a Thundermaw Hellkite. So the Mizium Mortars is going to use its most boring ability, tap for 2 mana, destroy target Hellrider. And Leland's going to attack for 3, dropping Andy to 16. Really, he's got a lot of work to do given the life totals. The fact that Andy could just start playing Geralf's Messengers at any time is Andy draws a Geralf's Messenger. We might want to get some interaction there, as Mountain can't tap for a Geralf's Messenger. We're going to let them know that they need to tap their mana better. And other than that, the play I'm sure should stand. There we go.
Also in Andy's hand, he does have a bonfire that, you know, some of those smaller creatures that Leland's holding and has out on the battlefield. Next round or two could take care of them for him.
So Leland drops to 7 there, has the Pillar of Flame to take out the Geralf's Messenger. He's going to be facing an attack to 3, and then Searing Spear, Annihilating Fire. I mean, there's just a lot of draws here. And then the Thundermaw Hellkite off the top. Andy Martin's going to get the win, 2-1.